Well, hello there, folks. Just going to make a couple of adjustments here, make sure that we're all good to go. I hope you can hear me just fine. I hope the closed captioning are coming in just fine. And I hope you're having a great week thus far. Kind of nice here in the U.S. We had Memorial Day on Monday, which means it was a 3-day weekend for many of us. Frankly, a lot of you had to work yesterday. I understand that. I get it. But that means that it's going to be a short week for some of us anyway today, right? This week? All right. Enough rambling. Hey, so let's get into today's lecture. What we're going to be talking about, let's see, I think I want to push this button right here. Yes, I do. Hey, we're talking about Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, those folks today. Now, I need to remind you of something. This is not a history class. It's not a history class. It's about, hey, how did the philosophy of business come about? Is that philosophy still the right approach today? Or have we changed? Or should we change? Really kind of examining the roots of business, if we will, to help us better understand how we approach it today. And that's very much what we're going to be doing today, right? We are going to be looking at the roots of a lot of these philosophies and challenging how we do things today. So I want to remind everyone, and I'm going to try something new here. This is not a history class, okay? We are looking at things through yesterday's lens, looking at today. Okay. All right, there we go. Trying new fun things. So, with that, let's go ahead. Oh, hey, you know what? I forgot to do this. And voila, everything is invisible now. So, we want to look at couple of readings today, but before we do this, I want to play around a little bit, all right? So, we're going to do a little exercise, and this is when we're going to start getting some of our light bulb points, as we see down here at the bottom. Making sure that that's going right? Yeah. Okay. So, if your birthday is on an odd day, I want you to explore this question. You found yourselves, there's a few of you, there's a good many of you, on a desert island with several other people. What would you do to ensure everyone gets what they need to survive? So if your birthday is on an odd day, then that's the question I want you to explore. Now, if your birthday is on an even day, I'd like you to explore this question. You've just started your career, one that will guide you for the rest of your life. What should you consider when deciding what to do as a profession? So, if your birthday is on an even day, that's the question I want you to answer. So, let's go ahead and explore that for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to come back and read the responses. And Okay, let's see if I can fix this echo real quick. Oh, I see what it is. For some reason, that megaphone did not turn. Okay, there, I fixed it. I'm trying some new tech, as you can see, and it doesn't always play nice. So now we should be in good shape. Okay. Yeah, started after I used the megaphone. I'm using something that I'll tell you what happened. So I turn on the megaphone and it all goes nuts. But then what happened is I did not turn it off. And so that's what happened there. Okay, so the voice should be all good now. But since I didn't have things working properly, you didn't really get a chance to answer the question. So let's take a look at this. You found yourself on a desert island with several other people. What would you do to ensure that everyone gets what they need to survive? So what are your thoughts? And on the other hand, you've just started your career. You guys are working on starting your career. What are you going to think about as you figure out how best to approach your career? So give me some responses there. And by the way, since you've been helping me with the megaphone nonsense and so forth, I'm going to get you some points. So Anna says, decide what we need and then divide the work among us so it can be done efficiently and use all the resources, gather the resources on the island. Anna, I love it, right? Isaiah said, I think the first thing I need to do when trying properly allocate resources, gauge your stock and variety. From there, you can give out what is reasonable for everyone to survive. Absolutely. Makes good sense, right? And Isaiah, given your background, you know all about that and so forth. Yeah, that makes good sense. Let's see here. Let's see. A few things I'd consider from Zara is in my profession is definitely something that would support my financial needs and something I can grow into. I definitely love that. Definitely. Let's see here. Yeah. Let's get a couple more here. What about in your profession, folks? How are you going to decide what to do in your profession? Owen says, I think you need to consider when deciding what to do for the rest of your life, something that you enjoy doing, something where you feel like you're contributing to society and pays well, pays off, and so forth. Absolutely. Yes, very, very well thought out. So now, here's the assertion I would like to make. I contend that both of these are the same question, okay? But it invites us to think about it through a different lens. Sam says something that makes you feel fulfilled, makes, enough money and so forth. Yes. So here's the thing. When we're thinking of our careers, right, Sam, I'm totally on board with you, virtual fist bump. You want to feel fulfilled. You want to make enough money to raise your family. There's things that you want to accomplish, right? On the other hand, desert island, oh man, survival's kind of key and there's limited resources and there's a lot of work to be done. So we need to kind of allocate the resources and assign the work in a way that best ensures the survival of the community, right? Okay. But you know what? We are on a desert island, okay? Now, not desert island, right? We're on Earth. But even then, many of us probably want to stick around in one country. Many of us may want to stick around in one region. And there are finite resources in this region. And there is work that needs to be done for us all to thrive in this region. And so, oh, Kiana won't let you submit comments. I'm sorry. Oh, now it's working. I was just about to say, whoa, this is really meta. I'm reading a comment saying I can't submit comments. So here's the thing. It really comes down to a question that Socrates was posing for us, is the interest of the state versus the interest of the individual. Now, when I posed the question in terms of surviving on a desert island, I was inviting you to look at this question through the lens of the interest of the state, the community, society. Whereas when I asked you to look at it through the lens of a career, I'm inviting you to look at the question through the interest of the individual. And so this is kind of a question that we are going to explore today. What takes precedent, the interests of society, the state, or the interests of the individual? Now, I want to be clear, the answer is yes. That's one of the cool things about this class. There are no wrong answers. There are just answers that we did not think out. We are going to explore this push and pull between the interest of the individual and the interest of the state. So, yeah, totally. You need to be happy in the long run. Anna, yes. Yeah. Okay. I'd like to share with you one of the reasons I really enjoy teaching, and this sounds goofy, but I truly, truly feel this. I've been miserable in a career. And when you're miserable in a career, you are miserable in your family, you are miserable as a member of society, you're miserable. And you take everyone down with you. On the other hand, when you're happy in your career and you're fulfilled and you're thriving, then your family thrives, your household thrives, your community thrives, those for whom you volunteer thrive, and so forth. Well, in about 10, 15 years, you guys are going to be at the pinnacle of your careers. You will be in the sweet spot of your careers. And I'm going to be retiring. I want to retire in a society where everybody is thriving in their careers. So I want to help you thrive in your career so that I can sit back and live off of your success. So that's one of the reasons I love teaching. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this. We are going to start with The Republic by Plato, all right? And in this, he is going to argue that individuals are naturally inclined to their own self-interest. I tend to agree, but we're going to explore this, right? Individuals are naturally inclined to their own self-interest, but in order to do this, they must form a just society and work in support of the common good, which is to say the state in this reading. Ultimately, a justice arrives from the need for cooperation, which is necessary to meet our individual interests. So the fun thing here is right away we jump into this oxymoron. In order for me to thrive as an individual, I must submit to the will of society. But then again, for society to thrive, society must allow the individual to thrive individually. So that's what we're going to explore here. Okay, let's keep going. In this dialogue recorded by Plato, Socrates, so it's Socrates talking according to Plato, argues that as society grows and the population increases, there will be a greater demand for resources like agriculture, land, grazing, things like that. So the bigger society gets, the greater the demand for resources. He suggests that if a just and harmonious society is not maintained, then we, driven by our own self-interests, will actually be willing to go to war to get the resources we need. And so he says, in order to make sure that we have peace, we need to have justice. Okay, so with that primer, let's go ahead and start looking at some of the reading. And by the way, just so you know, once we're done with today's lecture, you probably won't need to look at the reading. All right, we're going to go over a lot of it. All right, so this is what Socrates is saying. An individual can't meet all their needs by themselves. A state arises, as I conceive, out of the needs of mankind. No one is self-sufficing, but all of us have many wants. We have many wants, and many people are needed to supply them. One takes a helper for one purpose and another for another. And when these partners and helpers are gathered together in one habitation of body inhabitants is termed the state. Okay, what's he saying there? Well, he says, listen, you can't do everything yourself. You can't. I mean, you really can't. I mean, by the way, I watch these shows with preppers and self-sufficient. I don't watch a ton of them, but I watch ones every now and again. The irony is that preppers really need each other, right? We need a lot of resources in order to survive and thrive. And so we need a society. We need a community where everybody is supporting one another. Okay, so continuing on with that then, the idea that voluntary trade makes both parties better off is one of the most important ideas in economics today. They exchange with one another, and one gives and the other receives under this idea that exchange will be for their good. So we talked about this last week, right? As we exchange goods and services, we create greater value out of that which we received than that which we gave. So in other words, we make a profit, we gain value with every exchange. And so as more and more people are out there providing goods and services, then we all benefit. So right now, for example, I'm using all kinds of services to try to make this a somewhat interesting, engaging lecture, even though we're talking about Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates and so forth. But, you know, I pay for all these, and as a result, I'm able to gain greater value out of them. So, yeah, works well. Okay, so continuing on, Socrates then goes on to suggest that each member of the state should specialize. There should be this division of labor, all right? Instead of everybody trying to do everything, which actually is what I'm trying to do right now, and things go wrong, but that's all right. Instead of everybody trying to do everything, we should divide labor for a variety of reasons. So these reasons, let's explore them. Let's do our 2-minute mark here. And let's explore what are the advantages to division of labor. Why do we do it? Why not try to do everything? So let's play with that idea for a little bit. Okay, we are getting some great comments here, so let's start playing with them. Owen, because so many things need to be accomplished in society, if everyone specializes, then we can get everything we need efficiently, right? Oh, hold on. That's not what the button I wanted to push. I want to push this one. Yes, very good. Let's see. Zara, when individuals come together, they can specialize in different tasks based on their skills and interest, right? And once again, you mentioned efficiency and productivity. Okay, this is really, really, really good. All of you, right? This is really good. So, skills, I'm good at some things, I'm not good at others. So, I should look at things that I'm good at. Interest, even those things I'm good at, a lot of them I'm not interested in. So let's go ahead and focus on the ones I'm interested in. This allows me to be more efficient with my resources, which is a key driver of specialization, division of labor, and more productive. Absolutely. Oh, you're nailing it. So then we have Vanessa. I think an advantage would be getting help from outside sources. Yes, because outside sources have those skills and so forth that we're missing. Ooh, there's our next one. Don't want to interrupt the guy, right? So let's see here. Then we have let's see. Hey, Lindsay, glad you could make it. Perfect. Let's see. People can achieve more collectively. Yes, we can achieve so much more collectively. Kiana, when people specialize in particular tasks, they're able to perfect their technique, higher quality. Yes. When people get really good at something, they can perfect it, they can create more, higher quality, lower defects, and so forth. Isaiah, people can do a lot more if they are tasked with something they both enjoy and have a natural talent for. Higher productivity, higher quality. Efficiency is the reason behind division of labor. You produce more when you specialize. You absolutely do. Okay, so this is really good. And don't think for a moment that, I'm on the right one. Don't think that this idea is still not challenged. So we're going to talk about this a lot in future classes, but let me just toss something. I'm going to throw, as we say, I'm going to toss a hand grenade over the wall, right? Meaning we're not going to explore it right now, but we will explore it later, I promise. But division of labor, specialization, higher quality, this is all outsourcing. That's all outsourcing. Outsourcing is any time we pay somebody else to do something because we don't want to, we don't know how, we don't have the resources, so on and so forth. Specialization and division of labor is what brings about outsourcing. Every job you have held or hold right now, somebody has outsourced that work to you. Because you don't want to do it, or you don't know how to do it, you don't have the resources to do it, you don't have the skills, what have you, right? That's division of labor. We're going to explore that a lot more in future classes, future lectures. Okay. Going on, we must infer that, we must infer that all things are produced more plentifully and easily and of a better quality than one man does one thing which is natural to him and does it at a higher rate and leaves other things. Folks, you're as smart as Socrates. Check it out. If we were to look at all the comments, what Socrates just said there summarizes everything. So if we wonder where did the practice of specialization and division of labor begin, it started back then. And you and he were on the same page. You know, so much of what we just know and we're just kind of like with all the time, we don't value our own intelligence, we don't value our own wisdom, we don't value our own knowledge because we think it's obvious, right? But it's not. So your answers are spot on. Within the city, how will they exchange their products? To ensure such an exchange was, as you will remember, one of our principal objects when we formed them into a society and constituted a state, they will need a marketplace and money token for the purpose of exchange. Okay, we're going to be talking about this at some length. They'll need a marketplace. This marketplace has evolved and continues to evolve in incredible ways. Okay? And now we're starting to see the advent of money, a token of value. All right? So we're going to explore this. Socrates then goes on to argue that the more commerce that takes place, the more additional professions will be needed. Seafarers, merchants, toolsmiths, etc. And all of this will create wealth and luxury for the state. Okay, I want you to embrace how deep and profound and far-reaching this assertion is. He argues that the more commerce that takes place, the more additional professions will be necessary. So wealth begets wealth, work begets work, specialization requires more specialization. So it's just this ever-growing, demand for labor. So check this out. This is what Socrates says. The question which you will have me consider is not only a state, but how a luxurious state is created. You and I don't want to just live somewhere. We want to live in a luxurious somewhere. I suspect that many will not be satisfied with the simpler way of life. Yeah, we could live an ascetic, minimalist lifestyle, but Socrates suspects that we'll want more in life. And yeah, I sort of agree. They will be for adding sofas and tables and other furniture, also dainties and perfumes and incense and courtesans and cakes. By the way, I courtesans, servants, okay? All of these, not of one sort only, but in every variety. We must go beyond the necessities which I was first speaking, such as houses and clothing and shoes. The arts of the painter and the embroiderer will be set in motion, and gold and ivory and all sorts of materials will be procured. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. As he says, the more the state grows and the wealthier we become, the more and more we demand not just the necessities of life, but we want stuff. We want cool stuff. We want fun stuff. We want the luxuries. Okay? Now, he mentioned, by the way, so Anna just said real quick right here, Anna says, does Adam Smith get credit for that concept? Yeah. We are going to talk about Adam Smith in some fair depth in a future lecture. But Yeah, it's so funny. It's so funny how every once in a now, not to take anything away from Adam Smith, the man was a genius, but it's kind of funny how we can repackage an old idea and put it into modern terms, and all of a sudden we're the genius. So Adam Smith just basically repackaged and put in modern terms what Socrates is saying here. So Anna, that one gets a double. That gets a double call out there. So yeah. Okay. For our next 2-minute mark, let's go ahead and ask ourselves, where do we see examples of this today? So, in other words, where do we see examples of where we want more than just the house and the clothes and the shoes, but we want the luxuries, the dainties, and the art, and so on and so forth? What are we purchasing or wanting today that would fall into this category of luxuries? Let's play with this one. By the way, if you had heard me when I saw some of these come up, I was like, oh, that's good. You guys, this is really good. Okay, so right away, Owen. Owen says movies, TV shows, games, all that stuff. Not necessary, right? But we love it. Now, you mentioned games, Owen. So I don't know if anybody here has ever taken a class with Jeff Davis. Jeff Davis teaches statistics. And if you need to take statistics, take it from Jeff Davis and register the moment registration comes open, because his classes fill up right away. He's the one you should take it from. Anyway, Jeff is way into gaming. He has a whole room, and not just a small room. I mean like a basement, dedicated to gaming and to board games and all kinds of gaming and so forth. So that's a true luxury. If you have extra space in your home to dedicate to something as frivolous as gaming, that's a luxury. Vanessa, Vanessa, just got me jumping in my seat. Eating foods from all around the world. This is freaking genius. The reason we can have just about any food any time of the year in any season is because of international commerce, food flowing all over the world and so forth. So, here in Utah, we can have bananas. And not only can we have bananas, we can have bananas any damn time of the year. We don't have to wait until they're in season, right? Yeah, absolutely. That's a great example. Let's see, Zara. I think it happens with anyone. They're consistently looking for the next best thing, newer, better, bigger. Yeah, absolutely, right? Can get you into a financial pickle. We're going to talk about that. Yeah. And kudos for using the word get you into a pickle. I haven't heard that in years. Lindsay, luxuries in the form of experience as well. Oh, nice. Nice. Experiences as well. Yes, totally agree. Vacations, cruises, spas, things like that. My wife is going to get her nails done tomorrow. And that's a regular thing, but it's a luxury that's a regular thing. Yeah. Let's see. Advertisements and commercials are really driving us this way. We're going to talk in depth about that in a future lecture. There really isn't anything fun about surviving. Oh, yeah. There really isn't anything fun about surviving, right? You can just exist, but we need more. Yeah, Isaiah, I love that. The Kardashians, yes, right? The reality shows keep up, with all the influencers and so forth. It would be an unsatisfied life if you weren't able to make a purchase to support having family, hobbies and so forth. Yeah, I need to set up my phone. I have a lawn cam where I can show you what's on my phone. I'll do that for a future one. But everything I have in this studio is for the hobby, right? Let's see. Oh, collectors love collecting. Yes, I'm going to talk about my comic book collection here later on. Absolutely. Yeah. First world problems. Ain't that the truth? You guys hit the 15 mark. I know that, there we go. You hit the 15 mark. Congratulations. Remember, later on, send me an email and just say, here. That's all you need to do is say here. That way I know you're here and I'll get you that good old extra credit. Okay. Great examples here, folks. Really, really good. If we come back over here, then a slice of our neighbor, if we're going to get all this stuff, because there's a lot of cool stuff you guys listed, golf, traveling, hobbies. You listed a lot of good stuff. Well, then a slice of our neighbor's land will be wanted by us for pasture and tillage, and they'll want a slice of ours. And if, like ourselves, they exceed the limit of necessity and give themselves up to unlimited accumulation of wealth, well, then we're going to end up going to war. Well, that's the assertion he's making. Now, that's not necessarily the case. We won't do the 2-minute for this one, but how can we get what we need without going to war? We can trade, right? We can go into commerce. We can do international trade. And if any of you are thinking of taking a class on international business, then take Management 1060 with me, where we go into all depth on international trade. Okay? So that was the first reading, and my butt is tired, so we are going to have our first juggling lesson. All right? Okay, I'm going to bring this down for a moment. In order for us to get up and move around and so forth, I want to give us a purpose. Now, if you're just going to get up and stretch, by all means, just get up and stretch. But I kind of thought, you know what we ought to do through the semester is take just a couple of minutes and learn to juggle, okay? So I sent out a link over the weekend saying, hey, if you need to buy some juggling balls, I recommended some good juggling balls. Any bean bags will do. Sure, tennis balls and so forth, but, they'll bounce around and so forth. The nice thing about a bean bag is when it falls, it just falls and it stops. Whereas a tennis ball will kind of bounce around and roll and so on and so forth. These things just fall and that's it. I don't have to worry about it rolling away. But up to you, totally up to you. Okay. So the first thing we need to learn to do when we juggle is learn how to toss the ball. Now, this is going to seem really, really pedantic. It's going to seem obvious, but trust me, a really good toss is going to help you in every aspect of juggling. This is the fundamental, right? Kiana says, always wanted to learn to juggle, but have the worst hand-eye coordination. I get you. I really do. But it's easier than it looks. Like many things, juggling is a lot easier than it looks. Once you learn it, it's like, how is that so hard? So all we're going to do today is talk about the toss, okay? So a good juggling toss, you want to have your arms at like 45-degree angles or so, just out here in front of you, fairly flat, away from the body just a little. Don't have your arms in really tight, just relaxed out there. And when you throw the ball, here are a few things to consider. First of all, you're going to throw it just barely above the eye line, just a little bit above eye level. And you just want to toss it back and forth, but you want to leave your hands where they are. Notice that as I'm throwing this back and forth, except for that one, I'm really not having to move my hands that much, okay? I am just keeping my arms and my hands where they were, and I'm not moving them more than they need to. Now, why am I calling this out? Because when you practice the toss, you are going to be really tempted to do this, to move the arms and to kind of, just have them flailing all over the place. You don't want to do that. You want those hands to remain about as stationary as you can, because each one of those hands are going to be doing a lot of work, and you want the ball to do the moving. You don't want the hands to do the moving, okay? So that's all you're going to do for our first lesson. So practice that a little bit through the week. Just get a ball, toss it back and forth, a little bit above the eye line, keeping the hands where they are at all times, and you will be in great shape. Now, I know that was a really simple, easy, almost useless lesson, but trust me, that fundamental is going to come in handy later on. Because later on in our next lesson, you're going to start to realize that you don't know how to throw a ball. It's like all of a sudden it's tricky. And you're like, why is this hard all of a sudden? Okay? All right, let's get that back on up. And let's play with our next reading. All this means wealth and commerce. May help you serve. Anna, do you mean like in tennis or something like that? Or do you mean like balancing trays if you're a server? Yeah. Okay. All this wealth and commerce freaks out Aristotle. Let's see what Aristotle is all about here, okay? So coming back over here for us, let's get that a little higher. There we go. Aristotle draws a distinction between what he calls the art of household management and the art of money making. Okay, Aristotle's going to kind of mess with our heads a little bit, so let's get some fundamentals set. Art of household management and then the art of money making. These are two different things. The art of household management involves the managing of a household and its resources. This includes activities such as acquiring and maintaining property as is necessary to meet our needs, managing finances, and overseeing the well-being of our family members. In other words, the art of household management is really just keeping the household going. I have a place to live, I have transportation, I have food for my family, I have resources. It's just the day-to-day, I've got my life all sorted. By contrast, the art of money making involves the acquisition and management of wealth. Wealth accumulated for its own sake, an end rather than a means. Now, this is important to Aristotle. When we are accumulating wealth for our household, the money, assuming we're talking about money for a moment, the money is a means to an end, the end being a functioning household. Whereas the art of money making it's to make the money. I don't have any plans for the money. I'm going to just throw this in a bank in the Caymans and just let it sit there. I have no plans for this money. I just want to make as much money as I can, right? So that's the distinction for Aristotle. He argues that the art of household management is necessary and honorable, whereas the art of money making is justly censured, for it is unnatural and a mode by which men gain from one another. He doesn't like money making. He calls it unnatural. We're going to talk about what he means by unnatural. And ultimately, he feels like money making is just about exploiting each other rather than supporting each other. And if we're going to live in a just state, we need to support one another, not exploit one another. This is Aristotle's concern. This means that according to Aristotle, the proper goal of money making should be to satisfy the genuine needs of oneself and one's household rather than the accumulation of wealth for wealth's sake, for its own sake. Okay, so with that, let's go through the reading. Let's see how he states all this. Anna, it was tennis. Good. That's what I thought. I figured it was tennis. Of everything which we possess, there are two uses. Both belong to the thing as such, but not in the same manner, for one is proper and the other is improper or the secondary use. Okay, let's see what the dude's talking about. He talks about a shoe. I don't have a shoe with me. I'm in my own home, so I'm just in socks. He talks about a shoe. For example, a shoe is used for wear, and it is used for exchange. Both are uses of the shoe. He who gives a shoe in exchange for money or food to him who wants one does indeed use the shoe as a shoe, but this is not its proper or primary purpose, for a shoe is not made to be an object of barter. Okay, what the hell is Aristotle going on about? He says, listen, every single object has two uses. One is what it's actually made to do, right? So you take this water bottle, for example. This water bottle is meant to hold water and bottle it, I guess, right? Okay. That is its proper or natural use. Its unnatural use is to be an object of exchange. So, yes, I can use this bottle as an object of exchange. I can trade for it and so on and so forth. But that's not why it was created. It was created to be used. Okay? So, to Aristotle, you really want to think about what is it, are you buying it to use it, or are you buying it to resell it, in which case you're using it for a use that it was not intended. Okay, so let's keep playing with this. The same may be said of all possessions, for the art of exchange extends to all of them, and it arises at first from what is natural, from the circumstances that some have too little, others have too much. This sort of barter is not part of the wealth getting art, and is not contrary to nature, but is needed for the satisfaction of men's wants. Okay, so he says it's totally cool to trade stuff back and forth. You can barter, you can exchange, if you're doing so to meet the needs of yourself and your household. What we need, our wants, right? So household management, the art of household management. It's when we're exchanging and so on and so forth, specifically to get money, that he gets really nervous. Okay, so let's explore that. Aristotle seems to argue that a major contributor to this fixation on wealth building is the advent of coined money, something that, albeit serves an important purpose, but all too easily, warps our understanding of what it means to live a good life. So now Aristotle has some very specific thoughts on this, so let's challenge them. Some maintain that coined money is a mere sham. Right? Fake. If you watch the video, you know what I mean. A thing not natural, but conventional only, because if the uses substitute any commodity for it, it is worthless, and because it is not useful as a means to any of the necessities of life, and indeed he who is rich in coin may often be in want of necessary food. But how can that be wealth if wealth of which a man may have a great abundance and yet perish with hunger? Okay, his point is this. If Aristotle were sitting here, this is where I could do one of these fake interviews, something I'm thinking of. He'd say, I can prove to you that money is worthless. Okay, prove to me that money is worthless. All right, you're hungry. Can you eat it? No. You're cold. Can you wear it? No. You need shelter. Can you live in it? No. Now, you and I both know that you can exchange money for these things, for food, shelter, clothing, all that sort of stuff. He says, fine, all right, but money in and of itself is a worthless thing. It serves no purpose in the state of money. Therefore, why are we so fixated on accumulating it? Now, if we're accumulating it for household goods, that's fine. But if we're just accumulating it to have it, that's a problem to Aristotle. Okay, so now I like this one because he says, when the use of coin had once been discovered, out of the barter of necessary articles arose the other art of wealth getting, namely retail trade, which was at first probably a simple matter, but it became more complicated as soon as men learned by experience whence and by what exchanges the greatest profits might be made. Now, I love this one because it makes me think of the movie The Big Short. If you haven't seen The Big Short, you really ought to. It's an incredible movie about the collapse of the housing market back in 2009. And it really demonstrates how the world of finance makes no sense at all, and it is insanely complicated, but it's where you make the most money. So where Aristotle says it was probably simple at the beginning, it has become insanely complex. Kiana says acquiring wealth in the form of coin is specific to retail trade, which is one form of wealth getting among many others, such as hunting, fishing, farming, shepherding. Great, yes, exactly. And so this is where we're going to do our next thing. It's that time. We are going to play What's in the Box, okay? Now, our clue for what's in the box is we are talking about money, okay, coin money, so on and so forth. And the other clue is that, well, the answer is the first thing that you guessed last week that I said, no, it's not that, but that would be a really good one. So what do you think is in the box? And it's a cool box, by the way. It's a box from my grandfather. He had some, engineering tools in it at some point or another. What's in the box? There we go, Vanessa. You got it. Different currency. So here's something that's kind of interesting to me. So, of course, we've got all kinds of coins, right? I have coins. So this is from all my travels and when I lived abroad. So I've traveled to over 12.5 countries, and I've lived in 5 different countries. So this during travel. So Costa Rica, and actually, this is $1 from the United States. Yeah. It's not a silver dollar. It's a gold one. This one is from Thailand. Here's a £5 note from England. Here's €5, 5 yuan from China. Here's 20 whatever from Israel. I don't know what they have in Israel, but that's 20 of them. Malaysia. India. This is from India. This is $10 from Singapore. I even have some money. Like this is from China. It's a yuan from China. However, even if I were in China, this is worthless and these coins are worthless. They no longer use this currency. So the thing that's kind of interesting to me is these are just a few of the currencies I have. I sat down and looked at it and I thought, you know what? I have probably a couple $100 in different currencies here. A couple $100. And yet, if I were to just hand it to you, you'd go, whatever. Whereas if I handed you $200 American, you'd be like, hell yeah. But if I hand you this, you'd be like, never mind. Because money only has worth in the context of how we perceive it, in context of our society and the economic, region in which we live and so on and so forth. So yeah, I've got, $200, $300 and I'm like, it just goes in a box in my drawer. Whereas if I had $200 or $300 American, oh yeah, I'd be buying some new stuff. Okay, so very good, very good. And I think we just turned that off and we are in good shape. So, coin, that's right. All right, let's continue on. We're almost there, folks. We're doing all right. Aristotle seems to argue that a good life is one in which rather than wanting what we don't have, we learn to want what we have. As Seneca says, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. So bear that in mind as we start to read what he says, because it's going to seem bass-ackwards. I wonder how that looked in the closed captions. It's going to say basic words. Okay. Some people are led to believe that making money is the object of household management. And the whole idea of their lives is that they ought to either to increase their money without limit, or at any rate not lose it. So my translation, running a household takes money, so it would stand to reason that we should work to make money, or at least conserve what we have to support household operations. Yeah, sure, makes sense. Indeed, he goes on to say, wealth is assumed by many to be only a quantity of coin because the art of money making and retail trade are concerned with coin. Okay, so money is becoming the measure of one's wealth and by extension one's personal value, since its measure is often how we, figure out our worth. Let me show you what I mean, okay? We're going to do our 2-minute for this. Answer this question for me. Why is it considered inappropriate to ask or even tell someone how much they earn? So if I were to ask you how much you earn, that would be inappropriate. What's your annual salary? Inappropriate to ask in Western culture. Or even if I were to tell you how much I make, that would be unseemly, which, by the way, you can go online and find out because I'm a state employee and all of our salaries are open for the public to know. Why is this? Why is it weird to talk about money? Let's explore this one. All right. So not too much on this one. So I'll go ahead and add some speculation. Oh, Isaiah, we do have. I never felt as though it would be inappropriate if somebody were to ask me. I guess it depends on the context. Maybe it's inappropriate because people did not feel like it was, appropriate, publicly created information. Right. Here's my theory. Economic status with our communities. Yes. It measures status. There we go. You guys are getting it, right? Could be that you appear solely focused on the financial aspect of status, right? You guys are so right. Here's my feeling, and I think you and I would concur with one another. We are a lot of different things, and we provide value and experience and purpose as many things. We are spouses, we are boyfriends, we are girlfriends, we are kids, we are parents, we are students, we are friends, we are citizens, we are volunteer, and so on and so forth. And so it's really hard to kind of measure our worth in this world. But don't worry, society has a really simple solution for you. It's called your pay. It's quantifiable, it has a number, and it's easy to compare with everybody else in society. Therefore, if you want to know your worth, you pull out this number and you compare it with somebody else's number. And now you know whether or not you have worth in society compared to somebody else. It is a jacked up philosophy, but it's one that we often find ourselves buying into despite ourselves, right? Yeah, right, Anna? Since we've created a caste system, it's sort of rude. Yes, it is. Very good. Very good. Okay, let's come back to this. We're almost there. The origin of this disposition in men is that they are intent upon living only. Okay, now remember, living only to Aristotle means living high, whereas living a good life means living minimalist. It's different than how we often see it. And not upon living well. As their desire are unlimited, they also desire that the means of gratifying them should be without limit. So, Lon's translation of this is living well in the eyes of Aristotle means living a minimalist, somewhat ascetic lifestyle in which we have enough money to thrive, whereas, wealth is just living. He explains a little bit more. Even those who aim at a good life seek the means of obtaining bodily pleasures. And since the enjoyment of these appear to depend on property, they are absorbed in making money. And so there arises the second species of money making. Okay. So in other words, we all want to live a good life. I want to live a good life. You want to live a good life. We want to live a good life. And since this requires money, we slip into a never-ending cycle of more. More good requires more money. And so we're always saying, gosh, if I just had more money or if I had more time, I could do more things. Now, yes, we could. And I could do a lot more if I had more money. And you could do a lot more. And these are good things we want to do. But there's no limit. It is an unlimited amount of more. We're going to talk about that when we talk about the profit motive with Adam Smith. But we're never sated. We always want more. Therefore, we slip into this need to always earn more money. For as their enjoyment is in excess, they seek an art which produces the excess of enjoyment. And if they are not able to supply their pleasures by the art of money making, they try other pursuits, using in turn every faculty in a manner that is contrary to nature. All right, what does this mean? Well, it means we always want more. We want excess. I have 7 pairs of shoes. No. I have in this studio 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 monitors in the studio. That's excess, people. Okay? But what happens if I can't make money through the art of money making? Well, I might find other illicit ways of getting it. I might turn to crime. I might sell drugs. I might, sell my son's blood. I don't know. I haven't actually. So my wife has a much more devious mind than I do. I one time rented a Mustang. I rented a convertible Mustang when I was working for Intel, and it was the most underwhelming experience of my life. I was just like, this is no good. It had no guts. It was the most gutless car I'd ever driven. And it's a convertible Mustang. And I go home and I tell my wife about it. And she goes, well, you know why that is, don't you? I said, no, why? She goes, well, if they had marvelous engines, people would rent the car for a week and then take a really crappy low-powered engine and replace and swap out the really high-powered engine and then return the car. And in exchange, they've got this really nice engine that they stole from the rental. And I'm like, you devious, how do you think of this stuff? She does that stuff all the time. So I'm not as good as she is at finding ways that are contrary against nature to make money. But that's a major concern of Aristotle's. And bam, people, there you go. You did incredible. You stuck with this for an hour and 15 minutes, which is not easy to do when we're talking Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates. And your comments have been just absolutely spectacular. So thank you very much for that. I truly appreciate it. Remember, send me an email that says here, and we'll get you extra credit for your fantastic contributions today. We're all set. We're all done. You have everything you need to do the assignments. I apologize about... so here's the thing with the study guide. You're like, hey, last lecture, hardly any of that was in the study guide. And this time, only a few are in the study guide. The study guide is geared toward the final, which means if it's not in the study guide, it's probably not in the final. But that doesn't mean that it's not things that I want to discuss in our lectures and in our discussions and things like that. So I apologize for that confusion. I'm going to stick around. So if you have any questions or comments or you want to chat about anything, I'm here. If you would like to instead move over to a Zoom meeting, I can set that up for us. But otherwise, thank you for a fantastic lecture today, and have a great rest of your week. And until we talk again, have a fantastic day. And I'm sticking around in case you want to chit-chat, questions, all that stuff. Hey, Zara, you bet. Thank you. Mac, thank you very much. Kiana, thank you. I'm glad you found it at least somewhat interesting. Some of these are better than others, I'm going to admit. This one's a lot of reading from some old dudes, including this one. Hey, Isaiah, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Very cool. Oh, and you bet. Yes. I'll like it, and we need to do a little promotional thing. So let's hook up. Maybe we can shoot a little video or something, and we can show it during class. Because it was actually a little harder to find your site than we want it to be. So let's talk. Even a criminal mind is valuable. Okay, Anna. My father once said he likes to hire smart, lazy people because smart, lazy people don't want to do any more work than they have to, so they're going to find efficient ways of getting the work done. So yeah, even a criminal mind, not that a lazy person is criminal by any measure, but if put to good use, anything can be positive. Kiana, then do me a favor, Kiana, send me an email and just say, hey, you said let's talk, and I will send you a link and we'll set up a time that we can work this out because we can make something happen. So just send me an email and I'll send you a calendar link. And I keep saying Kiana. I think it's Kiana. I'm sorry. Kiana. Kiana. No, Kiana. Leviosa. Not Leviosa. Yes, my wife and I have watched lots of Harry Potter. Anna, you bet. We'll see ya. All right. Well, looks like things are pretty quiet, so I'm going to close things out. And like I say, have a fantastic day. We'll see ya.